Estonia country in northeastern Europe, the northernmost of the three Baltic states. Estonia's area includes some 1,500 islands and islets. The two largest of these islands, Saaremaa and Hiiumaa, are off mainland Estonia's west coast. Estonia has been dominated by foreign powers through much of its history. In 1940, it was incorporated into the USSR as one of its constituent republics. Estonia remained a Soviet republic until 1991, when along with the other Baltic states it declared its independence. The Soviet Union recognized independence for Estonia and the other Baltic states on September 6, 1991, and United Nations membership followed shortly thereafter. Estonia set about transforming its government into a parliamentary democracy and reorienting its economy toward market capitalism. It sought integration with Greater Europe and in 2004 joined the North Atlantic Treaty Organization NATO and the European Union EU. Land situated in northeastern Europe, Estonia juts out into the Baltic Sea, which surrounds the country to the north and west. To the east, Estonia is bounded by Russia, predominantly by the Narva River and lakes Peipus, Peipsi, Russian Chetskoye, Zero-Tai, Ploy, and Pskov, and to the south it is bounded by Latvia. Plant and animal life. Mixed forests with about 90 native species of trees and shrubs cover almost half of Estonia's territory. Most widespread are pines, firs, birches, and aspens. Less common are oaks, maples, elms, and ashes. Scots pine is the most common native tree. Meadows occupy a large area, as do marshes and swamps, where 1/4 of Estonia's 1,500 plant species are found. About 60 species of mammals live in Estonia. The largest of these is the elk, roe deer, red deer, and wild pigs also are found. In the deep forests of the northeast, bears and lynx are encountered. Foxes, badgers, otters, rabbits, hare, and along the riverbanks, mink and nutria are fairly common. People, ethnic groups. Compared with other European countries, Estonia has a large percentage of foreign-born residents and their children. Only about 2/3 of the population are ethnic Estonians. Russians are the most significant minority, comprising about 1/4 of the citizenry. Prominent among other ethnic minorities are Ukrainians, Belarusians, and Finns. There are some regional linguistic and cultural differences among the ethnic Estonians, notably the Seto people in southeastern Estonia speak a distinct dialect of Estonian and are part of an Eastern Orthodox religious tradition, while the islanders of the Mu archipelago in the west also have their own dialect and share a number of cultural affinities with the people of Scandinavia. Language. Estonian, the official language of the country, is a member of the Finno-Ugric branch of the Uralic language family. More than 2/3 of the populace speak Estonian as a first language. About an additional 1/4 speak Russian as their first language, mostly in the northeast, though few Estonians over age 60 or under age 20 speak the language. Religion. There's no state religion in Estonia, and many of the people are either non-religious or atheists. The Christian majority includes a large slice of unaffiliated Christians, along with significant evangelical Lutheran and Eastern Orthodox communities, as well as lesser numbers of Baptists, Methodists, and Roman Catholics. Economy. As part of the interrelated Soviet economy, Estonia was basically an industrial region, with agriculture making a smaller contribution. Industry and agriculture remain important components of the economy of independent Estonia, but their portion of gross domestic product (GDP) and of the labor force have declined, while those of commerce and the service industry have grown. The Estonian economy experienced an initial downturn during its transition to a market economy characterized by declining production, inflation, and unemployment, but by the mid-1990s, it had rebounded with some improvement across the decade following. Moreover, the Estonian economy has been cited as one of the most liberal in Europe. It has a balanced national budget, flat rate income tax, and very few customs tariffs. Estonia was among the first Eastern and Central European countries with which the European Union (EU) started accession negotiations. It gained membership in 2004. Agriculture and forestry. During Estonia's tenure as a Soviet republic, its agriculture was collectivized. Instead of some 120,000 small peasant farms that existed in 1945, there were, by the 1990s, about 190 collectivized farms and more than 120 state farms. Decollectivization became a government goal in the post-Soviet period and privatization proceeded quickly. Within the first year, Estonia had twice as many private farmers as either Latvia or Lithuania. Agriculture is the foundation of Estonia's significant food processing industry. Principal crops include potatoes, barley, and hay. Livestock farming, notably of cattle and pigs, is also important. Timber and woodworking constitute one of the oldest industries of Estonia, and the country's wood products include paper, pulp, plywood, matches, and furniture. The main production centers are Tallinn, Tartu, Narva, Pärnu, Kuressaare, and Viljandi. Transport and telecommunications. Major highways link Tallinn with St. Petersburg and Riga, Latvia. The majority of the republic's freight is carried by road, but freight also is transported by rail and sea. Estonia's main rail lines connect Tallinn with Tartu and Narva. There are 3 commercial ports near Tallinn and another inland port at Narva. Estonia has a state-owned shipping company and a state-owned airline. The country's major airport is at Tallinn, but there are also airports at Tartu and Pärnu. River transport is of local significance only. At the beginning of the 21st century, cell phone use was high in Estonia, and Estonians, like Lithuanians, were more likely to own cell phones than were citizens of many other European countries. Health and welfare. Benefiting from their country's advantaged position in the Soviet economic system, from comparatively high levels of productivity and from very low rates of net natural population increase that suggested a tendency to trade increased family size for material benefits, Estonians had the highest monthly salaries and the highest per capita housing allocation in the Soviet Union on the eve of independence. Moreover, during the Soviet period, health care was available free of charge and was administered by the executive branch of the government. After independence, a new law on health insurance 1992 established a decentralized system of medical funding under the aegis of the Riigikogu that operated primarily on the county and municipal level. Education. A law enacted in 1993 restructured education in Estonia and raised the level of compulsory attendance to age 17 or completion of the 9th grade. Education is conducted primarily in Estonian, but Russian continues to be the language of instruction in a number of schools. Higher education, which under the 1993 law was restructured along Western lines, is both public and private. Notable institutions include Tartu University, founded 1632, and Tallinn Technical University, founded 1918. Scientific research has been centered at the Estonian Academy of Sciences, founded in 1938. Housing. More than 2/3 of Estonian households live in apartment buildings. About 5/6 of the housing stock in Estonia was built after World War II, and of that about 1/4 was constructed after 1981. Cultural life. Because Estonia sits along the divide of Western and Eastern Europe, looking west across the Baltic towards Sweden and east across Lake Peipus to Russia, it has long been influenced by both of those cultural traditions. Traditionally, northern Estonia, especially Tallinn, has been more open to outside influences, including Germanic Christianity, the Reformation, and Russification, than has southern Estonia, which has been more insular and provincial. The Estonian nationalist revival of the 19th century helped bridge this gap to create a national culture that for a long time had the country's agricultural heritage as common denominator. Central to that heritage was the barn-dwelling and multi-purpose farmhouse that has no real equivalent in other countries. Estonian farm families both lived and worked in these buildings, which typically included the living quarters, a threshing room, a threshing work area, and sometimes animal pens.